I'm making a classic recipe, bringing it back. This is tuna noodle casserole. I grew up having this kind of as a staple, and I feel like even growing up, it was like a special occasion meal, you know, a casserole. We're having a good, nice dinner. It's noodles, it's protein, it's vegetables. So I wanted to make it and share it all with you. I put some butter in just this large pot. Gonna sweat down some onions and some celery. When I chopped up the celery, I love the tops of the celery, the green leafy part. I think it has a lot of flavor. It's my favorite in chicken pot pie, chicken noodle soup, and this tuna noodle casserole. I'm gonna add some garlic in a little bit. I love a comfort dish, and I love variety in a comfort dish. There is so many variations of tuna noodle casserole, and you can kind of mix it up. You can mix up the noodle, you can mix up the vegetables you put in. Some people like the canned cream sauce, others like a homemade cream sauce. You can go wild, really. I think that's why it's a comfort food, is every family has their own variation that you remember growing up. I'm gonna show you a simple cream base you can pull together, but the traditional way is just to use canned soup. Cream of mushroom or cream of celery are the classics. If you're mushroom averse, of course, go with the celery. You can even use cream of chicken soup. The ingredients are really simple. You probably have almost everything already in your home, and a lot of them are shelf stable, like the canned tuna, some dry noodles. I even take a shortcut with these ingredients. You can find diced onion and other diced vegetables in the freezer section. I have a bell pepper in there. I was thinking about adding that in there, but I said, let's keep it simple. Let's just work with this. I'm gonna add my garlic. Ooh, that smells so good, that garlic. I love onion, so I added a lot of onion in here. You can keep tuna noodle casserole really simple with just tuna, noodles, and a can of cream soup. Feeling those onions in my eyes a little bit. This is gonna bake in the oven, so you don't really need to cook this a ton. Just making sure it's sweated out a little bit. I'm gonna add a little bit of flour, just about a tablespoon or two. This will help thicken everything up. You wanna cook this about a minute or so just to get that raw flour taste out. I'm gonna go ahead and season this up a little bit. I have some dried thyme. You could use fresh herbs, dried herbs. I love peppers, so we're gonna go heavy on that. Just a little pinch of salt. Now this can really be a one-pot meal. I already pre-cooked my noodles, but I did them in this pot. So I cooked my noodles to the package direction, drained the water, pan's basically clean. It was just the noodles in there, so then I just started with my other ingredients. So no need to get two skillets out, do two things at once. I just cooked the noodles, set them aside, and then started my sauce. If you're using cream of chicken soup, you can actually just do this in a bowl, make your noodles, and then just combine all your ingredients and then transfer it to a casserole dish. Adding in the milk. Then I just need this to come up to just a gentle simmer, and we can add the rest of our ingredients and casserole away. But look at this delicious cream base we have. Now that that milk is in there, I might go with a touch more pepper and just another little pinch of salt. It's good to season in layers, add flavor in layers, and then when this comes together, give it a little taste, see if it needs anything. There's also other variations you'll find when it comes to the cream sauce. Some recipes include mayonnaise, others sour cream or cream cheese. In this version I'm making, I'm combining a few different flavors. This is a really good fridge clean out meal. If you have some dry noodles in the pantry along with a few cans of tuna, you can really use anything in your kitchen. So this is a great, easy weekday meal. You can just see what you have, vegetable-wise, what you have in the pantry, and let it all come together. So I had some cream cheese in there. I'm gonna use some of that, get that nice and melted in there. I love the creaminess it'll add to this sauce, a little bit of tang. When it comes to tuna noodle casserole, I love tanginess. This is just some mozzarella cheese. The classic has cheddar. I was out. I had some mozzarella I needed to use up. Cleaning out the fridge with a classic comfort meal. Sauce is thickening up a little bit. That's what that flour is for. Everything's melting together. Look at this sauce. It's gonna be so good. I'm gonna add just a little bit. Parmesan's kind of salty. I've already salted this quite a bit. Just want a little bit of the flavor. If you're not a cheese fan, you can leave the cheese out. I've seen versions that even do non-dairy. You can use a non-dairy alternative in your sauce. This is what I love about recipes. When you're baking, you pretty much want to stick to a recipe, but when you're making a comfort meal, it's all about whatever flavors are good to you. That sauce is good to go. I'm adding in some frozen green peas. You don't need a lot, just for some color. You can use those mixed bagged vegetables that have green beans and little diced carrots. Use anything you want. It gives it color. I was talking with a friend of mine about making this recipe, and they swear by canned peas in here. I'm a frozen pea fan. I love frozen sweet peas. I almost did the canned peas in here, and I was like, I'm gonna make my version, but my friend swears by the canned peas are where the flavor of tuna noodle casserole comes from. If you grew up with canned peas, that might be the addition for you. I'm just gonna give this a little taste. That is creamy and delicious. I love the garlic in there, the onion. A few more additions. Of course, tuna noodle casserole needs some tuna. So I'm gonna add that in now. Tuna's for a bit of protein and that tuna flavor. I wonder if there's a fancy version of this that uses like fresh tuna. But I grew up on canned tuna, tuna salad, tuna noodle casserole. This is such a throwback food. Now, of course, you can stick to the same recipe, not add tuna at all, then I guess it's just a creamy noodle casserole. You can use the same recipe and add chicken in, but tuna noodle casserole is where it's at. You gotta have the tuna. Completely optional, but some fresh herbs, like some fresh chopped parsley, really brightens it up. So I'm gonna add just a little bit of that. I love fresh herbs in a casserole, any pasta dish really. Look at our delicious cream sauce. I mean, that looks so good. Look at this. That's amazing. I like that there's some little chunks and big chunks of tuna, so try to not break it up too much. You want some texture in the tuna. Just our noodles. I cooked this before I made the sauce. These noodles can go right in. So when I cooked the noodles, I followed the package instructions, but I undercooked them just a little bit. This is gonna soak up some of this cream sauce while it bakes, and you don't want them noodles too mushy. You want them to have a little bit of texture, so you're just basically giving them a bit of a head start. Oh, this is the sound you're looking for. This is classic casserole sound. Creamy, noodly goodness. So I used egg noodles. That's the traditional way to go here, but you could use shells. You could use just about any pasta you want. I wouldn't use a long pasta like a fettuccine or spaghetti. Go ahead, go crazy if that's how you like it. I would just use something, you know, along the lines of bow tie pasta, shells. I love orzo pasta. I wonder if a version of this exists with orzo. I'm sure somebody's made it. This looks like the perfect tuna noodle casserole. I guess you could do a one-pot dish. We just end it here. Done. Go ahead and get me a bowl and serve me up some of this. But no, we're gonna go the casserole route, bake this. Okay, make sure all those noodles are broken up. No clusters of noodles. The sauce is evenly distributed all around. Peas all throughout. I still see chunks of tuna in there, that's good. I'm just gonna spray this casserole dish. You can use some butter on the inside too. That'll give it more flavor. It'll be a little bit more comforting. A breadcrumb topping is optional. Not quite optional for me. You could just bake the casserole, let the top get nice and crispy. This is just some plain breadcrumbs, a little bit of that Parmesan cheese, some parsley. I'm gonna do a little bit of Italian seasoning, but you could just do breadcrumbs and butter. Keep it simple. You could omit the breadcrumbs. You could use panko breadcrumbs. You could use seasoned Italian breadcrumbs. Am I giving you too many options? I think is that the moral of the story is tuna noodle casserole or any casserole, everything's optional, right? Melted butter for about a half a cup of breadcrumbs. This is just a few tablespoons of butter. The point of these casseroles are to be rich and creamy and comforting. You wanna get this breadcrumb mixture well combined. Make sure that butter is saturated on every crumb. This will give it a lot of texture, a nice crispy top. This is where it's better to do these tasks with somebody, because I need 2 hands for this. Ooh. We were pretty successful, not too bad. Oh, I'm sorry. I am just having a flood of memories and the smells of this, just taking me back to being a kid. And tuna noodle casserole, any kind of casserole really, was my favorite dish growing up. I love a bunch of ingredients all mixed together. It's my favorite thing. Even when we'd make separate dishes, like side dishes, a protein, a vegetable, I would mix it all up, put it all in a bowl. It's all one thing. How long did this take me? This took me 20 minutes. So that is nothing. And if you take some shortcuts, get some chopped frozen ingredients, if you're using the canned vegetables, like this can come together in no time. Crumb topping on. You don't want it completely covered. You want some texture from the noodles. So what I do is kind of like make sure some of the noodles are gonna poke up and they're gonna crisp up. You don't wanna like compress it so it's all one flat surface. This topping is gonna crisp up and brown. The extra texture is gonna be delicious. I'm actually not gonna use all of this. I don't want the breadcrumb to be too overwhelming, so we're just gonna save this. Off to the oven. Since this is already cooked through, all we're looking to do is just brown this up. What do we do while things bake? We clean up. That's what we're doing now. Back to it. Oven mitts on, casserole out. Oh, I can hear it bubbling, sizzling. We got a hot potato here. I gotta run back and close the oven because this is a two-handed operation. Bam. I said bam on accident, trademarked by the Emeril Lagasse Corporation. Oh, that sound. Okay, ASMR moment. Hot, bubbly, sizzly. Look how creamy that is. This is the most impractical vessel to eat this out of. This looks amazing. A little bit of that breadcrumb topping. Those peas, I love peas. If you're not a pea fan, go ahead and mix up the vegetable. I mean, I don't see why you couldn't do some like chopped broccoli in here, spinach, some cut green beans. While this is cooling off, I'm just imagining all the vegetables that could be in here. That is a comfort meal. I love celery. Celery has a little bit of crunch still. This is so good. You just need some sauce, some veggies, some cheese, some canned tuna, some noodle. You can do the breadcrumb topping if you're feeling inclined, but just like this, frickin' delicious. You gotta try this. I don't think you can mess up tuna noodle casserole. Iconic. We need to bring it back. What other casserole should I make next? I don't know, because this one is delicious. Those noodles are the perfect texture. Undercooking them a little bit gives them some texture after they bake. When I say you're undercooking the noodles when you're boiling them, I mean like a minute, maybe 30 seconds, or taking them out right on time. Dinner's served and I can feed an army. I know adding fresh herbs in here is like an extra step, worth it. I love some fresh parsley. It makes it taste brighter and fresher than just using a bunch of like already cooked canned ingredients. Nothing wrong with that. Take those shortcuts to make it easy, but adding some fresh ingredients really does take this to another level. It's so good. Do the casserole dance. Boom, boom. Do the casserole dance.